galactic showdown. In a fierce battle for survival, the Republic and Separatist armies have clashed in the distant solar system. Count Dooku's most cunning assassin, Asajj Ventress, leads the vicious attack.
Greetings there, Bucketheads, Mayvar Tigar. Welcome to the 114th Dooku Dueling episode of Mandovision, Nargai Tom, and thank you so much for checking out this small, independent Star Wars podcast. Remember, the best way to reach out to us is, of course, via the social media at MandovisionTom on Twitter and Instagram. You can email the show, mandovisiontom@gmail.com. Please make sure you're liking, subscribing, and sharing the show with all the other Mandalorians in your covert. If possible or so inclined and you're in the giving mood for this holiday season, please write us a sweet 5-star review. They really do help small independent podcasts like us stand out, not get lost in the shuffle, and help us against the tyranny of the algorithm. Welcome back. We're in the middle of December, and I said it months ago. We're in that portion of the year where it feels like we're all just going. It just slides downhill into the end of the year. Like there's no pumping the brakes anymore. It's over. It's done. It's inevitable. 2022 will be here before we know it, which only means good things because it only means more Star Wars for us. And again, as I've said 7,000 times, the Book of Boba Fett will be here to save us all at the end of the month, and we are just counting down the days. Last time we talked, I had the bold proclamation that maybe, just maybe, I could hit the afterburners and crank through season 3 of Star Wars: The Clone Wars before that time. That is clearly not going to happen now. I did not get any extra episodes out this week as I had initially envisioned. So my apologies for the misleading information that time around. But things are just still a little crazy in my real life, in my real world. And I just haven't had the time to sit down there and knock out more episodes. But I'm excited to be here today to talk about an outstanding episode of Star Wars: The Clone Wars. We're here to talk about Season 3, Episode 12, Nightsisters. The original air date for this was January 7th, 2011. This is after their holiday break in 2010, 2011. And it also marks a really interesting transition point for the show. You know, going back and reviewing these early episodes for the first 3.5 seasons, there have been some really strong episodes, some weaker ones, but you see where the show's going, you see what it's trying to set up, what it's trying to establish. And again, we have the benefit of hindsight to kind of see, we know where it's going to go, so seeing how they lay the groundwork, how they lay that railroad track down for us. It's been interesting to watch and to check in and be like, oh yeah, okay, now I see how we're getting from here to there, and all the different seeds, all the different elements they're kind of planting. But this episode, this kind of marks the beginning of ratcheting it up to the nth degree. They're turning the dial to 11, starting with this episode. One of our big markers, one of the things we like to watch, and especially in those first 3.5 seasons thus far, is sort of noting the progression of Ahsoka Tano from a character that was fairly divisive in her first appearances to her ascendance into fan favorite. So that's been a big episode, a big thing for us to track her progress in these shows. This week, we get to track a different character's progress. And I'm talking about one of our favorites on the show, Asajj Ventress, Count Dooku's Sith assassin. No, she's not technically a Sith. She's just an assassin, but she does know the ways of the Force, and she is quite powerful in the Force. This episode marks a turning point for that character and for the series in general, as, again, we start getting into Jedi/Force mysticism, and we get into some really crazy fun things, and I'm really excited for this next run of episodes to talk to you about, and it's just going to be, I'm just really, really excited. Let's go ahead and give our plot for this week's episode. Darth Sidious orders Lord Tyrannus to eliminate Asajj Ventress, lest her becoming too powerful. But Ventress escapes and manages to make her way back to her home planet of Dathomir, vowing revenge on Count Dooku. This week's episode, directed by Giancarlo Volpe, written by Katie Lucas, and this is definitely hands down her finest episode thus far into her writing career for Star Wars: The Clone Wars. A really just a stellar episode of television right here. Our voice cast, Nika Futterman takes center stage as Asajj Ventress. James Arnold Taylor returns as Obi-Wan Kenobi and Pirate Number 1. Matt Lanter is Anakin Skywalker. D. Bradley Baker is the Clone Troopers and Ratch. Barbara Goodson is Mother Talzin. Corey Burton is Count Dooku and Kai Narek. Kara Pifko is TJ912 and Naleth. Tom Kane is our narrator and Yularen, who only speaks briefly in this episode. Ian Abercrombie is Darth Sidious and Pirate Number 2. Catherine Taber is Karis in this episode. She's not Padme, she's Karis. And Matthew Wood is, of course, the Battle Droids. Our Jedi Fortune Cookie in this episode. Listen, this one's not very subtle, so, take notes on this one. You may have to... The swiftest path to destruction is through vengeance. So there's all the particulars that you need for this episode. So what we're going to do, the most important aspect of the show, it's that time. Strap on your buckets. Let's go.
Lord Tyrannus,
my master.
there is a disturbance in the Force. Your assassin, she has become very powerful.
Yes, my lord. She is quite important to me.
Too important.
Master.
Silence! I can sense her powers growing stronger. I would hate to think you are training your own Sith apprentice to destroy me.
Never. My allegiance is to you and you alone.
Then you must prove it. Eliminate her.
She's my most trusted...
I said, eliminate her!
As you wish, my lord.
So the order comes down. Sidious wants Ventress out of the picture. Can't let Count Dooku, Sidious's own apprentice, have another apprentice who could possibly team up to usurp the power, right? No. But there's a long game going on here, as always with Sidious. There's wheels within wheels. Wheels within wheels. And so this spurs into motion the plan, where Dooku, in the midst of Ventress and the battle droids of the Trade Federation, of the Separatist army, Dooku will turn on them in the midst of the battle to eliminate Ventress in this battle, sacrifice his own forces, and potentially, hopefully kill some Jedi in the process. But his allegiance to Sidious must be swift and decisive. So we get a little bit of a good duel between Ventress, Obi-Wan, and Anakin. More of that Jedi 2 against 1 tactic they seem to employ so very, very often. A fun sequence, though. And I noticed, and maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm mistaken. Let's put it that way. The fight sequences in this episode in particular seem to be so quick, so fast. Ventress moved with such speed, such rapidity, that I really, really enjoyed the saber fights in this episode on a level that I always enjoy them, but they just seem to be moving just a hair faster than what we've seen before, which I think really lends some intensity to the sequences. So whether that's Ventress's battle against Obi-Wan and Anakin in the beginning of the episode, or the big climactic battle versus Dooku later in the episode, really great lightsaber sequences all around in this episode. Really just standout stuff. The animation just firing on all cylinders at this point in the series. One of the big things I wanted to talk about with this episode is, and maybe I think most people know this. I mean, you can look it up and find it. I mean, Dathomir has been such a big part of Star Wars canon since its reintroduction here in Star Wars: The Clone Wars. But it bears being pointed out that Dathomir was originally brought into Star Wars canon in the old expanded universe in what I believe was the second novel after Timothy Zahn had completed his trilogy, his Zahn trilogy, or his Thrawn trilogy, if you will. There was the Trusa. The first book after that was Trusa Bakura, or Bakura. I think you say Bakura, and then it was the Courtship of Princess Leia was the next book by Dave Wolverton. And interestingly enough, I remember this book coming out with a really striking Drew Struzan cover. And then like years later in paperback, it came out with a different Drew Struzan cover. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. As it sort of reflected more of that paperback cover seemed to reflect more of the tone of the planet Dathomir, while that first cover on the hardback, which was like it's beautiful image of Princess Leia, and it's like soft blues and this yellow hue, was sort of more, I don't know, aspirational in a sense. It didn't really reflect the planet of Dathomir, which was the main setting for that entire novel. In the course of the book, Han Solo is sort of, he thinks he's won a planet in a game of Sabacc, and of course that turns out to be not the case. But he thinks it's this grand romantic gesture. He's going to use the planet to kind of show his worthiness to Princess Leia, who's being courted by a royal from another star system. That would her marriage to this royal would form like a super alliance, if you will, for the new Republic, to bring this star cluster of planets into the Republic. But again, it's Han Solo, and we've already read Timothy Zahn's trilogy, so we know that Princess Leia and Han get married. Plus, it's Star Wars, so we all like happy endings. But this is sort of like the journey, right? It's not always about the destination. You know how it's going to end, but it's the journey that's fun to get there. So we spend a lot of time on Dathomir, which is very similarly depicted the way we see it on Star Wars: The Clone Wars, in Star Wars: Fallen Order, the video game that we spent a good chunk of time on Dathomir on, which is really, really nice. The witches of Dathomir, the Nightsisters, are depicted a little bit differently in I guess I should say in their original form in that novel. They've sort of changed a little bit, evolved a little bit. I love them in Star Wars: The Clone Wars, in Fallen Order. They are fantastic. They're a little bit different in my recollection of Courtship of Princess Leia. Now, please take this with a grain of salt. It has been almost 30 years since I read that book. So my memories could be a tad on the fuzzy side as far as that goes. But it was a solid enough book. Like I said, you knew what the end point was going to be, but you wanted to go on the ride. You got some fun Jedi stuff with Luke on Dathomir finding what was it? I think it was a ship, but it was like this sort of like ship-bound Jedi Academy, right? That crashes on Dathomir, and they're trying to recover the Jedi archives. And you find out that Yoda had fought the Nightsisters at one point. Now, again, a lot of that stuff's thrown out after the Disney acquisition, but Dathomir is another element that was reincorporated into continuity by Star Wars: The Clone Wars. So it has a very, very interesting history. And if you're a fan of the expanded universe, you know that the Nightsisters have a role to play later on in some of the book series as things escalate in the expanded universe. The Uzan Vong and the Fate of the Jedi books and all that stuff. Like, there are descendants of Nightsisters and relations to Dathomir. Like, Dathomir factors heavily into things. The look of the Nightsisters on the Clone Wars is very, very different than what's depicted in that book. But again, I think for the better. I think the Dathomir that we get in Star Wars: The Clone Wars is more visually interesting than what we got in the book, where it was just like they're force witches and they look human, and it's just all that. So that's sort of like the interesting element in this episode, is sort of the incorporation of Dathomir, and we also sort of refine and maybe even retroactively do a little retroactive continuity work on Ventress's origins, as opposed to just being from Rat Attack. That's incorporated into her origin story later on. It's molded into that. It's made to fit. It's made to work. But her original home planet is revealed to be Dathomir, and she is a night sister, and she was part of a ritual to save the tribe, if you will. And we through the use of flashbacks, we're told a lot about Ventress's origins, how she came to be, her unorthodox Jedi training she received on Rat Attack, and it's really, really interesting stuff. And I will mention it again, if you've not read the Dark Disciple novel, I strongly urge you to, because it plays into so much of that stuff. So many of those elements come into play in that book. And also, I haven't talked about this yet, but I recently had the pleasure of listening to Kevin Scott's audio drama for Count Dooku, The Jedi Lost, and it is fantastic. It's really, really good. I recommend the audio drama highly. I also have the sort of like the adapted novelization. It's not really a novelization though, because it's more just like it reads like a script. But there is a print form of that material, and it's really, really good. It works with Ventress in the sort of in the present, in the time of the Clone Wars, running a mission for Dooku, but also as she's beginning this mission, she's at Dooku's sort of behest, is also discovering things about him and his origins, his time as a Padawan, as a Jedi apprentice to Master Yoda, and it does a great job of showing the trials and tribulations that Dooku went through and why he sort of is the character that he is, how he is the way that he is, the things that changed and affected him, his view on the Jedi and their sort of bureaucracy, and the different instances of the Force. Also, one of my favorite aspects of the book is his relationship with Sifo Dyas, the Jedi who would ultimately order the clone army creation. So much really, really good stuff in that book. And again, yes, it's about Dooku, but there's some really good stuff with Ventress in there as well. So the Count Dooku Jedi Lost book, and of course Dark Disciple, really strong books for Asajj Ventress stories, if that's what you're into. And this is a strong entry for Asajj Ventress. So going back to the episode, Ventress survives the attack against Dooku. Dooku believes he's killed Ventress. He reports back to Sidious that she is dead. Though you'd think they would know. They'd be able to sense that in the Force, but I digress. Probably my only knock on the episode is that little thing there, that maybe they should be able to detect that, pick that up. But what do I know? What do I know, indeed? So a salvage ship comes through the wreckage of the battle. They find Ventress in her Geonosian of I think it's a Finn craft is the name of the ship, and they rescue that for salvage. They find Ventress is alive, and Ventress is Ventress, so she quickly dispatches them and decides she's taking the ship back to Dathomir because she knows, again, I'm going to play the message right now that Dooku sends to Ventress, and it's pretty harsh, so check it out.
You have already lost the battle, child. I've ordered your reinforcements to return.
No, I will destroy the Jedi. I'll show you.
You have failed me for the last time. You are no longer my apprentice. And now, you shall die.
So it's time for revenge. And again, we dial back into our Jedi fortune cookie for the episode about revenge. And we know all about revenge from Yoda. So, we know it's a slippery slope to be on, but Ventress does not care one iota about that. Again, swiftest path to destruction is through vengeance. But she's linked back up with the Nightsisters now. She's back on Dathomir, back with her tribe, back with her people. And Mother Talzin, the leader of the tribe, the leader of the people of the Nightsisters, she has a plan of her own. And it begins with enabling Ventress to pursue a course of action against Dooku, to seek out vengeance. And I think ultimately we want to believe that Talzin is supportive of Ventress and her plan. And if she were to succeed, then great, that works out just as well. But Mother Talzin, much like Darth Sidious, thinking ahead, thinking the long game, has plans and wheels within wheels. So I think ultimately she knows that this isn't going to work. But they have to try, and this is like the opening salvo, right? Because they use the potion, there's a spell, they turn Ventress and two other the best hunters in the Nightsisters, the best warriors in the Nightsisters, they turn them invisible so they can infiltrate Dooku's fortress and attempt to assassinate him. And again, this leads to like a really, really great lightsaber battle between the three characters before Sidious ultimately, it looks like Sidious is going to be defeated, right? And then he turns the table and uses Force Lightning on all of them, and then throws them all out of his giant bay window. And it's pretty awesome. It's pretty exciting. It's pretty stellar. Really, really great things. But again, Talzin thinking ahead, playing the long game here, and she knows now that without Ventress around to protect him, Dooku's been a bit exposed. that there's many dangers in the galaxy, and he's made a lot of enemies. And so now it's time for some more protection to be put in play. And Talzin contacts Dooku with an offer to send him a male of the tribe. Instead of Talzin takes shots at Dooku in this about how Dooku was unable to break Ventress and sort of mold him around his little finger, wear her like a ring. Ventress staunchly independent, fiercely independent, and again loyal, but her mind of her own, if you will. And perhaps Dooku's in need of a servant more agreeable. So Talzin has a plan, and I think we all know where that plan takes us, and it takes us to Savage Opress. And we get to meet the Zabreks of Dathomir in the next episode, which is going to be really, really exciting and one I cannot wait to talk about. There's not a lot of subtext in this episode to really dive into, to kind of pull apart, other than this is only the opening salvo of a wonderful 3-part arc that spends time with the Dathomir Zabreks, the Nightsisters. We get more infiltration with with the Sith Lords, with Dooku. I mean, the whole thing. It's just only table setting. This episode is table setting, but it's nonstop action, and I couldn't get enough of it. But there's not a lot to pull apart here in that sense, because we're just getting started. We're just warming up with this episode, and I was riveted. I love the battle at the opening. I love the lightsaber fight between Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ventress. And I love Dooku, the way Dooku just so coldly tells Ventress that it's over in the midst of a battle, and then he uses his own forces to eliminate her. He sacrifices the battle to eliminate her. He hopes he kills some Jedi in the process, but no, it's all about getting back on Darth Sidious' good side, making his master happy, and proving his own loyalty to Darth Sidious and the plan that they are following, the script they are following to the letter, excuse me. So that's really, really nice and really, really great. And then again, the wonderful flashbacks as Ventress is being healed by the Nightsisters, and we're getting those flashbacks to her past, to her origins, and we're seeing new elements. We're seeing that she's from the planet. All that stuff is so good and so wonderfully done. But again, we're also getting cuts to her on Ratatak being trained by a Jedi whose name I have completely forgotten at the moment. But a Jedi who haunts her to this day. We haven't gotten into her psyche just yet, but that Jedi lives in her mind in a way that is really, really well depicted in the Jedi Lost book, the one that Kevin Scott did, the audio drama, if you will. Depicted really, really well, and I love that part, so much of it. But yeah, to see Ventress, that she was on this Jedi path, again, an unconventional Jedi path, but with the death of her master, it throws everything out of whack after that, and changes her life completely. Again, more well depicted in the Dark Disciple novel, but the characterization they do with Ventress is so wonderful, and a lot of it starts here in this episode. So those books that we've talked about in the past, this is sort of the beginning of it. This is sort of the genesis. This is when Ventress begins to get fleshed out into just a really wonderfully productive, awesome, exciting, unique character. I really, really dig this episode. It's a solid, oh God, it's 9. This is a 9. I love it, and I love the things that are coming next, and I cannot wait to talk to you more about them. And again, the lightsaber fight, I know I kind of gave you the review already, but just want to highlight it again. That duel between Nightsisters and Ventress against Dooku, so good. The infiltrating of the palace, the whole thing, just top notch. And then again, we get to the end when they come back to Dathomir, and we find out that, again, it seems like Talzin sort of expected them not to succeed, but she has plans in play. Wheels within wheels. Within wheels. So lovely, lovely stuff. 9 stars on this one. 9 buckets, if you will. Go check this one out again if it's been a little while since you watched it. It is a real blast. You are going to love it. And I cannot recommend it highly enough. What a great one. So, so good. All right, we're going to get out of here. We did this one faster than I thought. Just because, well, gosh, my excitability. And again, I don't want to say it's flawless, but it is a really pitch-perfect episode in so many senses. It's just spot on, entertaining, action-packed, and some really good story stuff. And again, it's just table setting. We're just setting the table for what's coming next week. And I cannot wait to talk to you more about that. So Thank you all so much for listening. It's been my absolute pleasure to be here and to entertain you all for 30-ish minutes or so, a little less than 30 minutes, I guess. New listeners, welcome aboard. I hope you enjoyed the show. Hope you stick around. And of course, big welcome back to the old-time listeners, the long-time listeners. Thank you. I truly appreciate all of you so much. I hope everyone is having a wonderful holiday season if you are a celebrator of the holidays this time of year. Otherwise, I just hope you're doing well. I hope you're taking care of yourselves. And as we mentioned last week, as we talked a little bit last week, I know the holidays can be really hard and really trying for a lot of people. So if you know people who are having a hard time with the holidays, reach out to them, touch base with them, let them know you're thinking about them, and make sure they're doing okay. And if you're listening out there and you need to talk to somebody, there are tons of people out there who want to talk to you and want to help you get through this tough time of the year. And do not be shy about reaching out for that help, because again, we're a Star Wars family, and we all got to watch out for each other and have each other's backs. So that being said, my name is Tom, Nargai Tom. This is the Mandovision podcast. I wanted to remind you one more time, follow us on social media at Mando_Vision, Twitter and Instagram. You can email the show, mandovisiontom@gmail.com. Make sure you're liking, subscribing, sharing the show with all the other Mandalorians in your covert. I truly appreciate it. All right. Keep your buckets on this weekend. If you're going shopping, if you're braving the mall or something like that, the Christmas markets, if you will, keep your bucket on. It's this pandemic thing's heating up again. Make sure you have your bucket has the proper filtration devices on it, and just keep it on forever now. We're just gonna 2022 will be officially the year of the bucket. We're just gonna wear our buckets all over the place. So thank you all so much for listening. Let's get out of here. We'll be back hopefully on Monday, and fingers crossed on that one. And just a little tease here, but right around it will probably be around Christmas time, but if it's not, it'll be shortly after Christmas, right before the Book of Boba Fett. We are going to have a fairly significant announcement. So I just want to tease that a little bit. It does not change anything as far as the show goes, as far as it's coming out, it's as far as its availability, nothing like that. Just a big announcement nonetheless. But it will not affect your listening of this show. All right, so just get ready for that. Keep that in the back of your head. And like I said, right before Christmas or right before Boba Fett. I haven't quite determined what date I want to put it out there yet, but yeah, some changes coming. They won't affect your listening ability to the show, but some things I want to talk to you all about and news I want to share, okay? All right, let's do it. Let's get out of here. You know how this podcast ends, and it only ends one way. This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way. You expect me to search the galaxy for the home of this creature and deliver it to a race of enemy sorcerers?
This is the way.